In the middle of cancer treatment, patients in Japan were being handed turkey tail mushrooms. Not experimental pills, not secret chemicals, actual mushrooms. Small capsules filled with compounds taken from something that grows on dead logs in forests around the world. And at first, a lot of people thought it sounded ridiculous. But inside hospitals across Japan, doctors kept using them anyway. Because some patients weren't just tolerating treatment differently, their immune systems appeared to be responding differently too. White blood cell activity changed. Natural killer cells became more active. And suddenly, researchers started asking a question nobody expected a common mushroom to raise. What exactly was hiding inside turkey tail? Because once scientists started looking closer, they realized this mushroom had been hiding something surprisingly powerful the entire time. And that's when scientists around the world started paying attention. Deep in forests across North America, Europe, and Asia, turkey tail grows quietly on dead logs and fallen trees. Scientists know it by another name, Trametes versicolor. Most people walk right past it. Its thin layers overlap like shingles. Bands of brown, gray, orange, and white spread across its surface, creating a pattern that resembles the feathers of a wild turkey. That's how it got its name. Despite being one of the most recognizable mushrooms in the world, very few people ever gave it much thought. Scientists didn't either, at least not at first. For centuries, turkey tail had been used throughout parts of Asia long before researchers understood what was happening inside it. But traditional use alone doesn't convince scientists. Evidence does. And for a long time, turkey tail didn't seem important enough to investigate. It wasn't rare, it wasn't psychedelic, it wasn't making headlines. Then researchers began examining what was actually inside it, and that's when the story changed. Inside laboratories across Japan during the 1960s and 1970s, scientists started isolating compounds from turkey tail one by one. Most produced nothing remarkable, but one stood out, a compound known as PSK, Polysaccharide-K. Soon after, researchers identified another closely related compound called PSP. At first, these discoveries seemed obscure, but during testing, scientists started noticing something unusual. The compounds appeared to interact with the immune system, not in dramatic ways, in measurable ways. Immune cells appeared more active. Certain biological responses became more pronounced. Study after study produced results that were difficult to dismiss. Eventually, the evidence became convincing enough that Japan approved PSK as an official adjunct treatment used alongside conventional cancer therapies. That was a remarkable moment, because suddenly, a compound extracted from a mushroom growing on dead wood had entered mainstream medicine. But approving PSK only created a bigger question. If turkey tail was influencing the immune system, what could that actually mean for real patients? Researchers wanted answers, and eventually, they got a glimpse of one. One of the most discussed cases involved an 83-year-old woman diagnosed with advanced metastatic inflammatory breast cancer. The disease had already spread. By most standards, the outlook was not optimistic. She underwent conventional treatment, chemotherapy, targeted therapies, the same medical interventions doctors rely on every day. But alongside those treatments, she also received turkey tail extract. Over time, her condition improved, then improved again. Eventually, doctors reported a complete remission. Now, scientists are extremely careful with stories like this. One patient does not prove a cure. One extraordinary outcome does not rewrite medical science. But cases like this do something important. They create new questions. Because if a mushroom might be influencing outcomes in ways we don't fully understand, scientists want to know why. And that question pushed researchers deeper into the immune system itself. What they discovered made turkey tail even more interesting. Turkey tail doesn't appear to work like a traditional pharmaceutical drug. Instead, Researchers believe many of its effects may come from the way its compounds interact with immune signaling pathways. Inside the mushroom are molecules called beta-glucans. These naturally occurring compounds are found in the cell walls of many fungi. When immune cells encounter them, they can trigger a cascade of biological communication. Macrophages, natural killer cells, T cells, the very systems responsible for identifying threats inside the body. Researchers began studying how these cells responded to turkey tail extracts. Some studies suggested enhanced immune activity. Others suggested support during recovery from intensive treatments. The findings weren't always dramatic, but they were consistent enough to keep scientists interested. And as more papers were published, something unexpected happened. Researchers outside Japan started paying attention. For years, medicinal mushrooms had largely existed on the fringes of Western medicine. Many researchers viewed them with skepticism. Some dismissed them entirely. But turkey tail was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Peer-reviewed studies continued appearing. Universities began investigating immune responses. Cancer centers launched new research programs. Clinical trials followed. Today, researchers are still studying turkey tail in modern medical settings. At institutions like the Mayo Clinic, scientists are investigating how turkey tail may interact with breast cancer biology and immune function. Think about that for a moment. A mushroom growing on dead logs in the forest is now being studied inside some of the most advanced medical research systems on Earth. That's a long journey. But growing scientific interest created an entirely different problem. The more attention turkey tail received, the more exaggerated the claims became. Suddenly, the internet was filled with miracle cure headlines. Supplement advertisements promised impossible results. Social media transformed a complex scientific topic into a simple marketing pitch. Scientists hated that, because the actual research is far more nuanced. Most studies are investigating immune modulation, supportive effects, adjunct therapies, not magical cures. And buried beneath all that hype was something almost ironic. Many people talking about turkey tail couldn't even identify the mushroom itself. Walk into the woods and you'll quickly discover that turkey tail has imposters, lots of them. Species like false turkey tail can mimic the colors and layered appearance surprisingly well. Every year, countless people confidently photograph the wrong mushroom. Mycologists often use a simple trick. They flip it over. Real turkey tail has tiny pores underneath. False turkey tail doesn't. That tiny detail changes everything. And in a strange way, it mirrors the entire story of turkey tail itself. From a distance, it looks ordinary, but the closer scientists looked, the more interesting it became. Which brings us to the real reason scientists took turkey tail seriously. Not because it confirmed every traditional belief, not because it cured every disease, and not because it turned out to be magic. Scientists took turkey tail seriously because it produced evidence. Enough evidence to justify decades of research. Enough evidence to earn approval as an adjunct therapy in Japan. Enough evidence to launch modern clinical trials. Enough evidence to convince researchers that a mushroom growing quietly on fallen logs deserved a closer look. What started as an overlooked fungus eventually found its way into hospitals, laboratories, and cancer research centers around the world. Not because scientists wanted to believe, because they kept finding reasons to keep looking. And maybe that's the most fascinating part of the story. The next major medical discovery might not come from a billion-dollar laboratory. It might be hiding in plain sight, growing quietly on a fallen tree, waiting for someone to take it seriously.